You think you're dealing with reality, but you're not. You're dealing with a reflection of your beliefs. What you call facts, circumstances, or reality is often just the result of what you've decided is possible for you. If you believe you're not ready, not qualified, not capable, you'll see that belief show up everywhere. Your team won't respond the way you want. Your revenue will plateau. Your schedule will feel out of control. And you'll call it reality. But it's not reality, it's your belief system shaping your environment, your reactions, and your results. This is one of the biggest traps people fall into. They let what's in front of them dictate what's inside of them. But leadership doesn't work that way. You don't rise by accepting your limits. You rise by challenging them. Every result you've ever created started in your thinking. So if you want better results, higher growth, better performance, stronger team culture, you don't just need a new strategy. You need new beliefs. You have to get this. Beliefs are not just thoughts. They are decisions. If you've decided that you're bad at hiring, or that your market is too saturated, or that success takes 10 years, then congratulations. You've given your brain instructions. It's now filtering everything you see through that lens. So when the right candidate shows up, you'll miss it. When opportunity knocks, you'll be too distracted by how hard it is to hear it. This is why people stay stuck, not because they aren't capable, but because they believe they aren't, and instead of questioning the belief, they accept the reality it creates. Let me give you something practical. Anytime you hear yourself say, "I can't," "It's too late," "This won't work," that's not reality speaking. That's an old belief flexing its muscle, and unless you challenge it, it's going to win. You'll convince yourself that your limitations are facts, but they're just stories. They might feel true, but that doesn't make them the truth. There's a difference between what's true and what's true for now. Your revenue, true for now. Your team dynamic, true for now. Your burnout, true for now, but none of that is final. None of that is permanent, unless you believe it is. Leaders don't lead from where they are. They lead from where they're going, and that requires the courage to ignore what's in front of you long enough to build what's inside of you. It means putting vision above visibility. It means choosing to believe in something that hasn't happened yet and showing up like it already has. Do you know how hard that is? It's incredibly hard. That's why most people don't do it. They wait for evidence. They wait to feel ready. But that's not how leaders move. You don't need evidence. You create it. You don't wait to feel ready. You decide to show up like you are. And yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable. Because anytime you challenge a belief, your brain fights you. It's wired to protect you, not promote you. But your growth doesn't live in protection. It lives in expansion. And that means leaning into beliefs that stretch you, not keep you safe. So I want you to ask yourself, what beliefs have been running your life? What do you believe about your own capacity, your team, your goals, your future? And more importantly, are those beliefs helping you lead at the level you want to lead? If not, then those beliefs are not based in truth. They're based in fear, and it's time to break up with them. The good news is you get to rewrite your reality. You get to choose a new belief, one that says, "I'm capable, I'm not behind, I can figure this out." One that gives you access to better decisions, better action, better outcomes. Because when your beliefs change, your behavior changes. And when your behavior changes, your reality follows. This isn't about ignoring what's hard. It's about refusing to be defined by it. You are not here to live a life that matches your limitations. You are here to lead a life that expands your capacity and the capacity of everyone around you. So don't just accept what you see. Question it, challenge it, rewrite it. Because your current reality is not the end of your story unless you believe it is. And you didn't come this far to settle. You came to lead. If you're building your future based only on what you can see right now, you're already behind. Great leaders don't lead from what's in front of them. They lead from what's inside of them. Sight tells you what is, vision tells you what could be, and when you choose vision, you give yourself permission to lead beyond your circumstances. Most people get stuck because they won't let go of the need for proof. They want to see results before they believe they can lead at the next level. They want a perfect team before they delegate. They want confidence before they make the call. But great leaders don't move like that. They don't need a guarantee to take action. They don't need permission to think bigger. They choose to live by vision even when their environment doesn't match what they're building. Let me be clear, leading by vision is not fantasy. It's discipline. It's the discipline to hold the future in your mind, even when everything in your current situation tells you it's not possible. It's showing up to the meeting like you already have the team you're building. It's leading the strategy like the revenue you want is already on the table. That mindset, that internal conviction, is what separates average leadership from transformational leadership. The moment you lead by sight only, you start playing small. You get reactive. You start solving the wrong problems, the temporary ones, not the structural ones. You start managing energy instead of multiplying it. And before you know it, your team starts mirroring that same smallness. Why? Because they're not just watching your decisions, they're watching your belief system. If you don't carry vision, they won't either. When you lead from vision, you bring future outcomes into present action. You're not waiting to be inspired, you're driven. You're not looking at your current capacity, you're expanding it. You're not held back by fear, you're powered by clarity. And clarity is what keeps momentum alive. Teams don't need perfect plans. They need leaders with a clear direction and the conviction to move toward it. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You need to be the most certain, and that certainty comes from your ability to choose vision over visibility, to see beyond the numbers, to move beyond the budget, to speak into what hasn't happened yet and act like it already has. Now let's talk about pressure, because leading from vision will stretch you. It'll force you to walk into rooms that don't feel ready. It'll require decisions before the data is perfect. You'll feel tension between where you are and where you're going, and that's the point. Pressure is not a signal to stop. It's a signal to expand, and when you stop needing your current situation to look perfect before you act, you unlock a different level of leadership. People will doubt you. That's okay. It's not their job to see the vision. It's yours. Your job is to stay anchored to it, to make decisions that support it, to communicate it with clarity, to repeat it 100 times if needed, because repetition builds belief. And when belief is strong, behavior follows. That's when culture shifts. That's when execution sharpens. That's when momentum builds. Leading by sight alone will give you small wins. Leading by vision will change everything. You'll start seeing opportunities where others see obstacles. You'll stop waiting for the right moment and start creating it. You'll move from reacting to leading, and that shift, that internal decision to trust the bigger picture, that's what makes a leader worth following. Here's what I want you to take away. Your current circumstances are not the ceiling. They're not even the full picture. They are just the results of past decisions and old beliefs. If you want a different result, you need a different vision. And you need the courage to lead from it daily, relentlessly, unapologetically. Great leaders don't just respond to the now. They pull their teams and themselves into what's next. They see further. They act bolder, they speak with intention, and they don't let what they see decide who they are. They let who they are decide what they build. So stop waiting for the visible to validate you. Start living like the vision is already yours. That's how great leaders move, and if you're here reading this, that's the leader you're becoming. Would you like the next keynote written as well? Let's make something clear. Ignoring reality doesn't make you delusional. It makes you focused. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about refusing to be defined by what's not working. Ignoring reality, when done intentionally, is one of the most disciplined things you can do as a leader, because it demands that you anchor into vision when everything around you says this isn't possible. Most people confuse discipline with action. They think it's about checking off a to-do list, working late, or showing up early, but real discipline starts in the mind. It's choosing your perspective, it's choosing which voice gets volume, and it's choosing which facts get your focus and which don't. Because here's the truth, your current reality is full of data. Some of that data is useful, some of it is distraction, and if you're not disciplined, you'll start interpreting that data as identity. You'll start thinking, this is who I am, this is how it will always be, this is just the way things are. That's not leadership, that's surrender. You weren't built to accept limits, you were built to challenge them. Ignoring reality doesn't mean lying to yourself. It means refusing to over-identify with temporary circumstances. It's acknowledging where things are without letting it shrink your belief in where you're going. It's having the courage to say, yes, this is hard, yes, this is messy, but I'm still going, I still believe, I still lead. That level of discipline is rare, it's uncomfortable, but it's required. Because if you want to lead people, grow a business, or change your life, you will face things that look like failure. You will look around and not see results. And if you're addicted to reality, if you only trust what you can measure and touch and track, you will quit. The people who go the distance don't rely on external cues. They build internal certainty. They've trained their minds to stay committed to the outcome, even when the scoreboard doesn't reflect it yet. That's discipline. That's ignoring reality on purpose, not to escape it, but to outgrow it. And let's talk about this because I know some people love to say, you have to be realistic. But here's what I want you to hear. Realistic is just another word for average. Realistic is often just fear dressed up as wisdom. It's someone who quit on their dream telling you how to play it safe. You weren't made to be realistic. You were made to be relentless. There's a difference. Being relentless means choosing faith over facts, not because the facts don't matter, but because they aren't final. It's using data to improve your systems, not shrink your vision. It's solving problems while staying obsessed with the outcome. It's doing the work, adjusting the plan, and still believing that it's possible even when nothing around you looks like progress. This is why leadership is hard, not because the strategy is complicated, but because the belief is expensive. It costs you your excuses, it costs you your comfort zone, it costs you your right to stay small and call it smart. When you decide to ignore reality, you're making a statement. You're saying, I won't be held hostage by what's not working. I won't let this season define my story. I am bigger than the problem in front of me, and I am disciplined enough to keep showing up like success is already happening. Think about that. That's a whole mindset shift, because it's easy to show up when things are going well. It's easy to be confident when the numbers are climbing and the team is clicking. But when nothing is working, when your effort isn't translating, when the bank account's tight, when your team's disengaged, that's when real discipline is revealed. In those moments, your job is not to retreat. It's not to water down your goals or adjust your vision to fit your circumstances. Your job is to hold the line, to trust that every leader who's built something great had a moment where they had to ignore what they saw and lead from what they believed. So no, ignoring reality isn't delusion. It's leadership. It's the decision to believe before the breakthrough. It's the maturity to keep building even when you don't have proof yet. And it's the discipline to stay loyal to the future no matter how loud the present gets. You get to choose what reality means. You get to choose what gets your focus. And when you choose vision over fear, faith over facts, discipline over reaction, you don't just lead differently, you live differently. And that's where transformation begins. There's a reason most people stay stuck because they accept. They accept the job they don't like. They accept the culture they didn't create. They accept low standards, missed deadlines, unspoken tension, and call it normal. They build lives and careers around compromise, and then wonder why it feels like something is missing. But extraordinary people don't play by those rules. They redesign them. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary isn't talent, it's ownership. It's the willingness to look at what is and ask, how can I make this better? Not because they're trying to fix everything, but because they refuse to settle for anything less than what's aligned, effective, and excellent. They don't wait for permission, they lead. They don't adapt to dysfunction, they challenge it. They don't blend in with broken systems, they rebuild them. That's the mindset of someone who's building something bigger than themselves. They don't just want results, they want impact. They're not satisfied with the status quo, they want to shift the standard. And that takes more than skill, that takes courage, because redesigning means disrupting. It means you stop nodding your head in meetings that don't make sense. It means you ask the hard questions. It means you raise your hand when nobody else will. Ordinary people keep quiet to avoid conflict. Extraordinary people speak up because silence is more dangerous. They know that when you accept something long enough, it becomes your culture, and culture is either designed or tolerated. There is no neutral. Every part of your life, your business, your leadership, your team is either being accepted or intentionally designed. And if you're not designing it, someone else is, someone less invested, someone less visionary, someone who doesn't care about outcomes the way you do. So the question is, are you accepting someone else's reality, or are you bold enough to redesign your own? Redesigning doesn't mean scrapping everything. It means getting honest. It means looking at your calendar, your communication, your habits, and asking, is this serving the life and leadership I want to build? And if the answer is no, you change it. No excuses, no delay, no outsourcing your responsibility. Let's talk about teams. Ordinary leaders accept mediocrity. Extraordinary leaders coach, confront, and realign. They don't avoid accountability conversations, they initiate them. They don't hope performance improves, they create the systems that make it inevitable. They don't wait for culture to happen, they drive it. You cannot redesign anything if you are afraid of discomfort. Most people won't take that step because redesigning exposes what you've been tolerating, and that can be painful. But pain is part of progress. The willingness to step into that discomfort is exactly what makes you extraordinary. You know what's easier: blaming, excusing, delaying. It's easier to say this is just how it is than to admit you've had the power all along to change it. But ease doesn't build legacy, ownership does. Redesigning isn't just about being proactive, it's about being responsible for the experience you're creating for yourself and everyone around you. If you want your team to rise, you have to model it. You can't demand excellence while accepting chaos. You can't expect ownership while living in avoidance. Your redesign sets the tone. It teaches people what's acceptable and what's not. So stop trying to be likable and start being intentional. It's okay to say this isn't working. It's okay to look at something you built and realize it's no longer aligned. What's not okay is pretending your team is healthy when it's not, pretending your systems are efficient when they're holding you back, pretending you're satisfied when deep down you know you were meant for more. Redesigning is how you get back into alignment. It's how you shift from reacting to leading, from surviving to scaling, from maintaining to multiplying. And here's the truth. Nothing changes until you redesign it. You don't get a new outcome from an old system. You don't get next level results with last year's mindset. The extraordinary leader doesn't wait to see if things improve. They make the decision, they initiate the shift, they build the better version brick by brick, conversation by conversation, belief by belief. So stop accepting what doesn't serve you. Stop calling it realistic to stay small. You weren't made to accept what's broken, you were made to build what's better. Redesign the way you lead, redesign the way you think, redesign the way you show up. Extraordinary isn't found, it's forged. One decision at a time. You can't lead people while obeying reality, because leadership isn't about repeating what already exists. It's about creating what doesn't yet exist. And if you're only operating from what you see, what you know, and what's currently working, then you're not leading, you're managing. The moment you start obeying reality, you stop growing, because reality will always give you reasons to play small. It will always point to what's missing, what's broken, what's limited, and if you follow that, you'll make decisions rooted in fear, not belief, in survival, not scale. You'll get stuck adjusting to circumstances instead of designing outcomes. Here's the truth. Leadership is about belief. You're not just managing tasks. You're transferring belief. You're saying to your team, this is where we're going, even if we don't see it yet. You're giving people permission to act beyond the facts. That requires vision, that requires conviction, and it requires the courage to challenge what's currently real in order to build what's ultimately possible. You can't inspire people to a future you don't believe in. And you won't believe in it if you're obsessed with obeying reality. What's reality telling you right now? That you're under-resourced, that your growth is too slow, that your team isn't aligned, that you're behind. Great, that's what is. Now what? Because leaders don't just observe, they shift. They take ownership of the vision, even when the data says this might not work. They don't lie about the facts, but they refuse to let the facts define the finish line. If that makes you uncomfortable, good. Growth starts where comfort ends. You can't pull people into the next level if your leadership is stuck in the present. Obeying reality sounds responsible, but it's just reaction in disguise. It's playing not to lose. It's waiting for external validation before you lead with internal certainty. But reality doesn't lead, vision does. When you obey reality, you start asking the wrong questions. You ask what's realistic instead of what's possible. You ask what can we afford instead of what can we create. You ask who's available instead of who do we need. These questions shrink the business. They shrink your leadership. They shrink your team's belief, and your team will follow whatever energy you bring. If your energy says, let's be careful, let's stay small, let's not expect too much, they'll obey the same reality you're obeying. But if your energy says, we're building it anyway, we're figuring it out, we're committed to something bigger than the current facts, then guess what? They'll rise with you, because people don't follow perfection. They follow clarity and courage. You need to lead beyond what's proven. That's what makes you the leader. You're not waiting for the results to believe. You're creating results because you believe, and no, that doesn't mean you ignore problems or avoid hard conversations. It means you solve from belief, not from panic. It means you address issues without making them your identity. It means you keep the vision louder than the volume of the problems. Let me say this. The people on your team don't need you to be perfect, but they do need you to be anchored. They need to know you see beyond the current numbers, beyond the broken process, beyond the tension in the room. They need to see you operate from a future focus, not a fear-based pause. Obeying reality makes you hesitant. It makes you overthink. It makes you say no when you should be saying next. And the cost of that hesitation is massive lost time, lost energy, lost belief. But the cost of vision is different. It costs your comfort. It costs your excuses. It costs your ability to hide behind this is just how it is. That's the price of leadership, and it's worth it, because you are not here to maintain what's already real. You are here to move people into what's possible, to hold a standard that doesn't yet exist, to speak into a future that others don't see yet and keep speaking it until they believe. So stop waiting for reality to cooperate. Stop asking permission to go next level. Stop building strategy around what you lack. You can't obey your current circumstances and expect to lead people beyond them. Decide what's next, declare it boldly, align your actions, and refuse to let what is kill what could be. That's leadership. That's your job. And if you're willing to lead from belief, not sight, not fear, not facts, you will build a reality worth obeying.